female workers were expected to serve drinks to superiors. Can you believe it? They are entitled to force you to work overtime. How come this is legal? What's up everybody, it's Asagi. Welcome back to my channel where you can find Japan with no BS. I'm injured my wrist a little bit, so I can't shake my finger like I normally do. But hey, I used to be a salary woman. I was working for a major Japanese company from 2012 to 2019. It gave me so many opportunities such as learning business manners, presentation skills, marketing, and using English on the job. I traveled abroad on business trips, and I made friends I still meet with, which was the best part of the company life. Although my life as a salary woman was great overall, I decided to leave there not only because I wanted to pursue my own way, but also because there were so many stressful things during that time. So this time I am sharing 4 reasons why I left a Japanese company. Disclaimer, I'm not specifically accusing the company I was working for. These things I didn't like about them also apply to many Japanese companies. I'm sharing these to give you insights about working in Japan as a local Japanese person. So keep on watching if you are interested. Reason number 1. Traditional values. Japan has so many traditional values, and don't get me wrong, I'm all for good traditions. But when I was working for a large company, there were many unreasonable values that I couldn't understand. First and foremost, men were considered superior to women, and that was very obvious at that time. And I know you might say, oh, I hate feminine talk. You are feminazi, Asagi, disappointed. But believe me, when I talk about Japanese gender equality, it's really not what you think. While the idea of gender equality in the West comes from chivalry, right? You know, women are weaker than men, so men are supposed to do like heavy work to protect women. It's more like, you know, men being knights kind of idea. But recently, more Western women are like, you know, we are independent now and we don't need men to protect us, right? That's why, you know, movies like Frozen were created. But in Japan, this comes from pure discrimination. Back in Kamakura period, there was a religion called Kamakura Buddhism that told people that women are filthy because blood comes out from their vaginas. What? Oh my gosh, so filthy. Let's just discriminate women. After the idea was widespread, women got banned from every opportunity. And even till this day, no woman can't be an emperor. And no women can play kabuki or sumo, you know? And the gender equality score of Japan is much worse than most of the developed countries. The score is especially bad when it comes to economic participation and opportunity section. And back to my topic, what I'm trying to say is I witnessed how many women here were not getting enough opportunities in the corporate scene. So when I was looking for a job when I was fresh out of the college, there were 2 positions to apply for. And one is called Sogoshoku, which means career track position. You can pursue a management position in the future, but also expected to move around nationwide or even globally. The other position is called Ippanshoku, which means non-career track position. In this position, you are not supposed to have so many responsibilities, and you don't have to move from the region you were originally hired. Therefore, you get paid less, and you can't get a promotion when you hit certain age. With that being said, what companies actually do was to hire women and even disabled people for this non-career track position and hire many more men for career track position. You see, there was some kind of gender barrier in their recruiting system. And it even seems like this non-carrier truck position was specifically made for women not to be involved with their decision making, and they expected those women to quit when they hit certain age and, get married and focus on housework or something like that. I was hired as a non-carrier truck employee because as a woman who is not like an engineer, that was pretty much the only way I could work for a, white-collar job. So I guess I followed that gender role, but eventually I switched to the carrier truck position because I found that I had the same workload and same responsibility as a carrier truck employee, and I knew I deserved that. So I asked my boss said yes, and I took an exam and promoted to an carrier truck position. Yeah, that was me, but naturally there were almost no female managers of all like 200 managers at that company. It was obviously very difficult for women to be successful at a Japanese company regardless of their skills and abilities. When it comes to gender role, I also hated that the tradition that female workers were expected to, serve drinks to superiors at the company gatherings and dinners. I mean, I don't mind doing that, but I don't want to be expected just because I'm a woman, And sometimes I was invited to male workers' drinking parties because those senpais are like, we don't want to have a sausage party, so hey, newbie, bring girls. As if we female workers are like free hostesses or something. However, this has been changing in the past decade or so. Many companies stopped the carrier truck, non-carrier truck kind of recruiting system, and more women seem to be treated better, at least in the white-collared workplaces, which I'm happy about. Sorry, it's been raining so hard, so you might hear it, but we'll go on. Aside from gender role, there is also a heavy seniority system in Japanese companies. In Japanese companies, the longer you work there, the more reward you can get. More rewarding jobs, more promotions, and more money. The system is a great fit for a traditional Japanese mindset. You should admire older folks because they are supposed to be wiser. In fact, not all the people are. Also, Japanese people respect harmony than competition. You don't have to compete with the others when you know that you can get promoted as you keep working there, right? But if you are a young worker who has ambition, this system is not fun. You always get assigned to a boring assisting jobs and projects for a decade, and you don't get paid even when you contribute to a big success. They don't admire your skills and passion. And this old guy right there is getting paid more than you do just by sitting in front of the PC doing absolutely nothing. I didn't mind it at first, but eventually started to be frustrated with this system. So it was time for me to leave there and start something by myself. Reason number 2, otsubone ladies. This is something you won't experience, but I have because I was a Japanese woman. Many female workers in Japan suffer from harassment and bullying from older female workers called otsubone. Otsubone ladies usually have been employed for a long time and have power in the workplace. They become very aggressive and intimidate other workers who don't obey. Also, it's been said that many of them are unmarried for some reason. The word otsubone originally refers to a high-ranking woman who was in charge of shogun's wives and children in the Edo shogunate period. But nowadays, this word is often used with a negative narrative in the corporate scene. Those women are problematic for many reasons. First of all, they act really nice in front of the superiors and intimidating in front of juniors. They start bullying once they think you are threatening to their positions or simply don't like you or jealous of you for some reason. They love gossiping. They spread negative information about you so they can keep their own positions. The most frustrating thing is that Japanese companies don't really take action on this issue. Even when young employees are leaving because of those ladies, companies don't kick them out because Osborne ladies are really good at keeping their positions by eliminating other threats out of the company, right? And Japanese people in general avoid confrontations. So nobody in the company confronts these problematic employees. And that was exactly my case. There was a lady who is like mid-40 and of course, no partner, single AF, was bullying me here and there the entire 7 years of my career. I remember how intimidating she was even on the day one of my work. One time I was in the bathroom, doing my business. I heard she was talking shit about me while she was brushing her teeth. That was so freaking ridiculous. And no, this is not a high school locker room. This is corporate bathroom for adults. Can you fucking believe it? So she bullied and made many young workers quit, and she was one of the reasons why I quit the company. And you know how she's doing right now? She's in a managing position at the company. I don't want to work with or work for toxic people. I had enough of it, so I chose to leave. Reason number 3, lack of flexibility in the workplace. This might have mixed opinion, but I was exhausted by how everything was regulated in the Japanese company. From how you dress to how and where you work to when you take breaks and vacations. It was like a military. Everything had specific rules or unspoken rules even, and you'd get the stinky eye or even get bullied in the worst case if you don't follow those rules. For example, remote work was not an option when I was working there. That means I had to commute to the office every day. What bothers me the most about commuting was that I had to ride on the packed train to go to Tokyo office. Oh, I hate packed train. People are aggressive there, it's smelly in the summer, there were even creepy old men, not even old, who touched my butt. Ew. And one time I bitched about it to my senpai, and you know what he said? 通勤電車に耐えられないなんて社会人失格だな. The company had flex hours, but to use that, I had to get permission from everyone before that day. And my section in particular, they didn't allow using it in the morning. So I had to be at the office by 8 a.m. every day, which was very early to me. Early. By the way, we have this incentive, but we don't really allow you to use it, happens a lot in Japanese company. Remember that. Anyways, I don't know about you, but I'm very much not a morning person. I also have ADHD traits, so it was unbearable to me to work in such strict environment. Let's fucking go. And lastly, low wage. As I said in the last video about the population crisis in Japan, one of the biggest issues Japan has is that wage stagnation. The Japanese economy has stagnated since the early 90s, and the salary as well hasn't been raised for over 30 years. The average monthly salary in Japan is about $2,100, ranked 30th highest in the world. Considering Japan is a highly developed country with the 4th highest GDP, this doesn't feel right to me. It's been said that the reason Japan's salary is so low is because of the lack of productivity, meaning companies don't invest in workers, facilities, and R&D to create new innovations, to compete globally and raise wages. Another salary system that I never understand is 固定残業代, fixed overtime payment. My former company luckily didn't have that, but in many companies, they expect you to work overtime for a specific number of hours. And the overtime pay is already included in your base salary. Those companies tend to have shitty pay, but make it look better by adding up overtime payment to their base salary. On top of that, they are entitled to force you to work overtime. How come this is legal? Japanese people tend to say no, right? Because they are bad at confrontation. So many of them just swallow this contract and work long hours with a shitty pay. But then you might think, why do Japanese people still work in such a horrible, exploitative environment? Then we go back to the first chapter. We have the tradition that the older get paid more. People tend to stay in a company as long as possible. Many companies even have a retirement allowance for those who worked a long time. So let's say if you worked for a major company for 30 years, you would receive around $100,000 when you leave, which is something. People in the older generation feel happy about this system and willing to work. But the amount of the allowance is becoming much less and less in the past decades, and system can change anytime when companies want to, right? So people in the younger generation rather leave the company for a better work environment than stay in the same company for 30 freaking years. By the way, after I worked for the company, the amount of my allowance was 12,000 yen.
Bruh.
This could be 10 times better if I worked there for 10 years though. So again, you don't get so much benefits in Japanese companies if you don't work there for a long time. So you most likely have to deal with the low wage. Okay, these were the reasons why I left a Japanese company. Were they reasonable to you? This time I focused on the negative side of working in Japan, but of course there were also some good things I found from my experience. Do you want me to share those things too? If you do, please let me know in the comment section. So that's all for now. I'm on Patreon and PayPal. If you would like to support my journey as an entrepreneur, not as a salary woman, please consider supporting me there. As always, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!